Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay, and today FFG have announced a piece of terrain for Star Wars Legion. But more than that, it sort of seems like a little campaign, if you will, a mini campaign, as well as a piece of terrain, which I really like. So it comes with command cards and stuff like that, but they do appear to be only for this piece of kit. They're not going to be like tournament legal. But yeah, very interesting. So let's have a look at it indeed. Now, before we start though, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, then please do consider doing that, as it really does help. And like the video if you like the video at the end of it. So yeah, they announced this today. A little bit out of left field. I didn't see this one coming at all. It is $50, so possibly a little bit on the high side, but it is a downed ATST, so I guess that makes sense. And yeah, well, that's what it looks like, painted up in the, I said in the flesh, but it's not really in the flesh. And those conditions, we'll speak about them in a moment. But overall, I actually really like that. I think that looks good. It looks nice. The rocks, I think, maybe might lack a little bit of texture, but I mean, that's just from that one picture that is perfectly painted. But that's just my personal view of it. I mean, yeah, that looks really cool. I really like it, and they've got a 3D render of it, which, to be fair, the rocks look pretty textured, but yeah, for sure, definitely intriguing. And the key things that they've announced here, well, that they're showing, are these 6 new battle cards. But it says that dramatize a 2-act struggle over a wrecked ATST, and they do say there's only 6 cards, so 2 of each, 1 for Act 1, 1 for Act 2 of each of the 3 would equal 6. So I don't think this is going to be like a tournament legal thing. But it's just an interesting thing that they're doing. So secure the intel. I'm not going to read that because I personally will probably never play this. I generally just like tournament competitive games. But you know, they've got their own little like sort of mini campaign, mini mission. And if you look at the deployment, for example, the forces converge Act 1. So that's what I'm saying. You're going to get 2. And it says the blue player must play the Imperial faction and the red player must play the Rebel faction. So I mean, that wouldn't work in a tournament, that's pretty obvious. So, and then it's like, during Act 1, each unique unit that is defeated and each unique upgrade equipped to a unit that is defeated is set aside and cannot be included in any army during Act 2. So it sort of like goes from Act 1 to Act 2, and it's all around just like a little mini campaign thing. Yeah, it's interesting. It's nice to see FFG go into terrain. You know, obviously Games Workshop do. And it's nice that they're adding a little twist in it, in that each terrain piece is going to be like a mini piece of like a campaign, or at least that it could be. We could have more of this where, you know, I don't know what going forward, but they could do more terrain that have either generic command cards that like the objectives and the cargo boxes and all that kind of stuff they did, or they could have these like little mini campaigns, or maybe one day we'll get something bigger or smaller that'll have both in. I just really like it. I think it's a nice idea to do it. It's nice that, yes, you'll see it on a lot of people's terrain boards, but I think that's more than fine. Because, I mean, let's look at it in reality. You'd have to buy an ATST to do that. There's no way of making a terrain piece that looks like that. And then it's all pretty much done for you, even if you're a non-hobbyist. All you really need to do is paint it. So I think that's fine. As terrain goes, that's perfect. I mean, you obviously will need to assemble it and glue it and stuff, but you're not going to need to sand it because it's obviously textured. So yeah, I think for a beginner, you're just going to have to paint that up. Well, assemble it, paint it up, put it on the table, play your little mini campaign, little mini mission, and then move on with your life. And you've got a piece of terrain that you can use as a focal point for the rest of your games, which I think is pretty interesting. Yeah. I'm caught out of left field. I'm not like super hyped about this. It is literally just a piece of terrain that is an optional piece of terrain. So for me, it's not the be end all of everything. It doesn't really matter to me. But for sure, I can see like some people who maybe aren't that great at making terrain. No disrespect. I mean, that makes sense. Some people just aren't. Would definitely be interested in this. And a lot of people who like narrative and campaign stuff, which is generally not me. I generally like, you know, competitive games that are fair and balanced. I'm not really interested in stories and about them. If I want to watch a story, I'll either watch the films, read a book, or watch TV shows. I generally won't try and make up a story using my little minis. Just doesn't appeal to me, but I can understand why it does to others. Let me know your thoughts. I'm very intrigued. It's a little release, again out of left field, but it's nice to see that they're supporting the game, not just in ways of minis, but in ways of terrain. And I mean, going back to minis like Sabine and Bosco are an interesting example, because that is literally 2 minis that can change the game quite drastically. So you can see how going forward this game could very much expand in very different directions, even maybe with just the odd couple of characters. And you know, they could do another piece of terrain that ultimately lets you have generic objectives, although I think we'll get generic objectives and conditions in the next core set, which will be like the Clone Wars. But yeah, I just like the way it's going. I like the fact they're supporting it so well. It's definitely interesting. Yeah, let's go. That's the end of the article. The end of the video, the end of everything. Well, not the end of everything. That's very depressing. If you like the video, I mean, it's just me chatting poop about like news. It's nothing fascinating. But subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Support me on Patreon if you want to. Have a most beautiful day though, and goodbye. Bye.